I'll dive in. Are we live? Okay. For me, I think this discussion has been eye-opening in a couple of ways. And it's just a really local example, and it's about all the environmental conversation that we've had. I live about a block away from a lake in my community. And I've really been concerned about the health of that lake since we moved here about 7 years ago. And we had a really big fish die-off earlier this fall, summer. It was super stinky, and I walk around the lake almost every day just for my exercise. And so you see all these bodies of fishes just washing up everywhere, and it was really sad. And my first response was to just shove all that down, bypass it, try to explain it away, whatever. And then to tell myself, well, I'm just one person. Whew, I'm getting emotional right now. So just give me a minute to take a breath. I'm just one person. What options do I have? And as we were sitting in our meditation a couple of minutes ago, just allowing myself to feel that emotion, because as we've discussed, action, I think the best action comes out of emotion that we've been able to feel and process. And I care about my community. And I'd really love for my kids to be able to swim in the lake or boat in the lake or do, whatever, just enjoy that natural resource that's so nearby, that we're so privileged to have within walking distance, that a lot of people don't, even though I live in the land of 10,000 lakes. I mean, throw a stick, hit a lake, right? And so I'm just sitting here thinking about, okay, what are some actions that I could take? I could, invite some people from my community to start a Facebook group to maybe discuss, what things could be available to us. What options could we have to prevent something like that huge fish die-off happening again next year in recurring years? And instead of just saying, well, we're not going to make any headway. I just spent a year watching my friend make headway with some of her other cohorts in a different way in her community, and she did it. And so if I have that example, then there certainly are choices that I can make on a bigger scale than just recycling in my backyard or, putting my food waste into the compost that we're all kind of conditioned to do, but that maybe we need to branch out and do things that would have a bigger impact. So that's what I took from today. Thanks.
So I just want to express gratitude, because my lived experience has been any time I have stepped outside of my comfort zone so far that I never thought I would ever come back from it. The gifts have been untold. So for me, grief and joy are inextricably intertwined. I still have days of wanting to crawl into my hole, and then days where I want to charge out full blast. And I'm still sitting with everything I feel about information that almost seems too much to bear. And then knowing that I have been fortunate to connect with those who know how to work through and find ways that are surprising beyond measure. So I think that's all I'm going to say for now.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Leah. And Ben, thank you, dear friend, for continuing to open these important spaces in our lives. And we were together not too long ago. Nancy was there too at World Open Space. And in the closing circle, I said something about, I am ready to speak with my heart. And in these times where we can look at the world and feel, a part of us feels like there's the potential of societal collapse. And we sense such sorrow on so many things that seem to be broken. And this gets further compounded by all of our ways of coping with this. And oftentimes it's with isolation, with guilt, with feeling I'm not doing enough, with feeling how will we survive in a day-to-day, whether it's earning your living and holding tight to what you have, or taking leaps and risks and saying there's more to life than this, whatever this is. But the thing I know that's really, really important that comes from being human beings in a living world is that we cannot go this alone. And when I say that I want to speak my heart, I want through my own vulnerability of not just being pushed to discuss data to prove whatever opinion I might have, whatever solution I might have. I think first, it's for each of us to show each other's heart and to connect with each other from the heart as human beings, each with our own qualities, gifts, sorrows, pains, lived experiences, and to be with each other and to know and discover when we do that how much the same we all are. And two, as was discussed at World Open Space, this paradox of trauma and joy, to allow ourselves to fully embrace joy and happiness sometimes while looking at the facts and the real trauma that's there and be able to be there with it. And in single little acts together, find the courage, not alone, but with others in small steps or bigger steps that we do something. But we won't be able to do something until we find each other's hearts. Of that, I am so convinced. So I feel that in this now what,
I think she lost the connection.
She'll come back.
Mhm.
Pause the recording.
okay, so when the recording got interrupted, which I'll mention, the last thing I was saying is that I really feel that we will be able to deal with what is in the future by connecting with our heart, and that this now what space is a way for us all to connect through our hearts, to show our hearts And that will lead us to make the right mindful decisions, small steps or big steps. And I'm just grateful that I was here in the past hour or so. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you all for such a powerful conversation, really good processing of the last couple of weeks. Yeah, I had what felt like an aha in just going through the arc of this, where like we were all seemed like very clear and aligned on this core idea that going into our grief and all the stages around that include anger and everything else is kind of a necessary thing in order for us to also experience joy, as well as to be a positive force for change in the world to whatever extent we can and whatever ways we want to. And then somehow, then you were telling the story, Leah, about the friend you have who's done that work, and she's into this activism. But what is the activism? It's something, part of it was that she's opposed to vaccines and thinks that they're dangerous and wants people to be free not to vaccinate their children, which has been an issue in our family, and something, a particular belief about what is true that I don't share, and an example of where I think interests people that do. I think there's two things. We're capable now in this world of collectively coming to believe that things are true that are not. And there may not even, it's a systemic phenomenon that social media has supported, and other things. There are also actors out in the world that want to influence popular belief for their own malign interests, and they've been very successful as well. I'm not going to say one way or another what the situation is with the anti-vax stuff, but both of those things I believe are phenomena that we have to deal with. And you named, Suzanne, the getting into these arguments around the data. We talked about in the conversation too, that's so often fruitless and a de-energizing experience, and just so what are alternatives? And for me, it's often not to bring something up, or if somebody states an opinion about one of these things, and I'm like, I think that's not true, and it's actually a dangerous belief that you hold, and I wish I could persuade you it wasn't true, but I don't even get into that because it just is so yucky. So what are the other options? There was sort of where I was going in the whole process. And as I sat with it at the end, what occurred to me was like, oh, right, we're deep into the domain of complexity here. And the notion that the way whatever we do, whether we're going to create, go through some transition, some birth, there's this death, but there's something new being born that really is the more beautiful world our hearts know is possible, or whether the work is something else in the middle of collapse, of creating what Meg Wheatley calls islands of sanity, or communities of trust, or even just being there to hospice our civilization and offer. There's tons of good work to do, right? And it may not pull these giant levers that change everything, but that doesn't mean there isn't all kinds of stuff we could joyfully enter into, right? And so it's not going to be that we all, like the whole planet, or even some major percentage of the planet, completely agrees not only that this is what needs to be addressed, but these are the 5 ways we're going to address it, and then we all go in that direction. That's just not, even if we could do that, it would be wrong. Because that's the world is way too complex for that, right? So it doesn't have to. It is inevitable, right, that there will be people like your friend who have gone through, they're coming from a deeply heartfelt place. They've done their work. They're out in the world. They're active, and some of the things they want to do, I'm going to think are not the right things. I might even think they're dangerous things. That's anything you take, that's going on. That pattern is happening. And if our choice then is to get into arguments or say, well, I can't play with you at all, or you're dangerous, then that won't serve us, right? And And so I need to trust, I guess. Well, first of all, I need to say I can work with people who I disagree with. It's crazy to say I can't work with you unless we agree on like these 8 things. Or to spend our time trying to figure that out. I have no energy for that. And also that I can trust that whatever the positive outcomes are that are possible, they're going to happen because a lot of people who disagree about a whole lot of stuff somehow also did collaborate or found the people that agreed with what they wanted to do and did it. And I don't know for many, I mean, in this case, I have a belief that I think is right, and I believe climate change is man-made and we need to stop putting greenhouse gases into the air and we need to stop cutting down forests and all this. I have no doubt about that. But what the solutions are to that, that gets very fuzzy very fast. So I think what I'm saying is I'm feeling released in a different way to not other the people who are believing things that I think are nuts, and see that there's hopefully there's some crazy ecosystem of work being done coming from our grief, coming from our hearts being opened, and that our hearts being opened is as you're naming, Suzanne, always a place to go and to start and to be grounded in. And if I see somebody coming from that place, I can be less judgmental about what they're choosing to do as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
I mean,
I'm really curious about what your 8 things are, though.
Why ruin a moment, Nancy? I mean, like, I think we're done in we got 2 hours in. I don't know if it's a 2-hour conversation, but I feel like there's a book that's been placed around the package that does not shield us from grief, but allows us to hope and dream again, and may that be the gift of this.
So shall we hear this this wonderful song, "Make Magic" by Rising Appalachia?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'll put the lyrics into the chat so you can actually. I mean, they're pretty.
Did you want this recorded too?
And we'll record it. Yeah, we might as well record it, right? So I'll share my sound, but not the video, which is a cool thing I've learned to do in the last year. So you can see the chat, and here we go. Whoop, we lost Suzanne again.
Aw.
Oh, she's back. Okay, hold on. Hang on, I'm going to start this
She
again.
comes. Go.
back with the magic, and I could hide good people all around me, acting kindly, acting wisely. Open your eyes, what do you see? Those in power are meek in their ways, say stop. We'll hold them back with the magic, and I could hide. What are we gonna do with the wicked of the world? Make magic, make magic, make magic. What are we gonna do with the smoke and mirrors? Make magic, make magic, make magic. What are we gonna do with the wicked of the world? Make magic, make magic, make magic. What are we gonna do with the smoke and mirrors? Make magic, make magic, make magic. We believe in warriors and we don't believe in war, and we'll arm ourselves in liberty, arms outstretched at your door. And we believe in the righteous, in the sacred holy stone, in the howl of hallelujah, in the gathering of the bones. If I go fight it, I write it, I have it all up in the score. No, it's not scary, it's hairy, I'm very taking it, I'm bearing everything I got. All that magic in my cook pile, photosynthesize and meet me all up in the working lot. What are we gonna do with the wicked of the world? Make magic, make magic, make magic. What are we gonna do with the smoke and mirrors? Make magic, make magic, make magic. What are we gonna do with the wicked of the world? Make magic, make magic, make magic. What are we gonna do with the smoke and mirrors? Make magic, 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 make magic.
You know, I had this memory moment of, then dreaming about virtual places and spaces. And as I was watching you dance, and I remember at some point we would have had an event where we had people from different parts of the world. And I remember being struck and looking at them, and some were in their living room, some were in their kitchen, some were everywhere. And at one point there was some dancing. It was a reunion, and I thought, wow, all can be well in the world. Meet each other in our, and
All can be well until the internet breaks down. Huh?
it's not just the, but it's also the places that are special.
Well, I'm gonna, on that note, get up because I've been sitting and I need to stretch a bit.
Yeah,
So I'll go out on my balcony.
good,
I'll have my view behind me
good.
because it's quite lovely out here today. And
That's-
I try to get out every day now, so that's part of my joy, to be in the world and in my landscape.
That's
And I
awesome.
know, Suzanne, you are a perfect example of that.
Yes, yes. I live out in the world. I live out in nature everywhere all the time. So it's awesome.
Well, that's part of what's so crazy about these times, right?
Yeah, yeah.
For those of us who are fortunate enough, and there are a lot of us, we're living
Yeah.
these amazingly rich and wonderful lives.
Yeah.
Even as we're seeing the possibility of we're seeing so much being lost, so much suffering, and the possibility of so much more of that happening, including the result of our own actions. You know, so that's just such a bizarre place to be.
Yeah, it's a big dichotomy. It's weird.
And in the moment now, no one can deny the joy we had of being together in all of its iterations. And to know also what I run into all the time is that people will say and yearn that they want the same thing.
Yeah.
And they're so caught up in the treadmill and the rat race of their lives, clutching for dear life, for safety, a safety that's an illusion. And, just kind of having this undercurrent of worry that's there, but they want this. And this is not something that is a lot of stuff. It's just to be together.
Yeah.
And we can create it. We super can create it. And from that base, I think we can do a lot of things, but not, So anyway, I just see Leah kind of kind of dancing with her head. And thanks, Ben, for having started getting the body in motion. It was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Can't stay in my chair. All right, any other closing words? I think we're pretty good here.
I hope we do it again soon.
I had to come back inside because they're doing work in the back there. It was getting noisy. This is my world now, where I landed in a new neighborhood under constant construction, but on a lake. But it's like such a constant mix of everything that's going on in the world right now, both modern and not, and conservation, and just it's like, ah! So I wake up every day to all of that and go, I don't know where to land in any of it, but it's okay. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.